Well, Jason Jones is a well-known award-winning filmmaker, and he's also written The Race to Save Our Century. We'll have him back for a full hour sometime. 5 core principles to promote peace, freedom, and a culture of life. But thanks for joining us. You are an accomplished guy. You do a lot of really important work, a lot of big hit movies. You're a credible guy. I'm starting to really think something stinks here now. What do you think it is?
Well, I don't, again, Alex, I know something stinks. Yeah, and they're going after the Bill of Rights, one after another. You just look at New York City. First, de Blasio says he's going to shut down churches, synagogues, and mosques forever that dare open. Now, Governor Cuomo comes out and says hospitals in other parts of New York that have ventilators available to serve their community, private hospitals, he's just going to take them. And he knows it's illegal. And he said, sue me. Now, what about Alex, you and I? We're generous people. I have a year's supply of food and supplies for my family. We're already tithing to our community. We've just made a generous donation to a nonprofit serving our elderly. No one in my neighborhood's going to go hungry, and none of my friends or family is going to go hungry as long as the Jones family has food. But I don't need the governor to say, hey, the hospitals, we need these ventilators. We're going to take them.
This is classic authoritarianism, and it's to set the precedent that they can commandeer whatever they want.
And they will. They're going after the churches. Now the hospitals. Next, they're going to kick down your door to take your food supplies. If you look at the private hospitals that Cuomo says he's going to commandeer, those are going to be in red communities. He's attacking the president, and he's attacking his own hospitals. Our founding fathers, they knew they were ambitious men. The left tells us they point out all of their flaws. You know who knew this? Read the Federalist Papers. The founding fathers knew they were ambitious. They were prone to faction.
And that's why they tied themselves down with the Constitution and Bill of Rights.
And that's why they tied themselves down, and they tied us down. And I guess it doesn't apply to Cuomo and de Blasio because they're such noble, wonderful human beings that they know better than us. No, and Alex, when I first wrote my book, thank you so much for holding it up there. You're the first guy I wanted to get it to because I saw this coming as a young undergraduate, experiencing violence as a young man, and then studying genocide and democide and total war of the 20th century. I had this fear to my core that my posterity would suffer the way my grandparents did. And I thought, I want to order my life to make sure that I can leave to my posterity this beautiful country that has been left to me, freedom, peace, opportunity, prosperity. My mother had me at 16. I became a father at 18, dropped out of high school when I was last in my class at 17 and joined the Army. And I've been able to run presidential campaigns and produce award-winning movies. Only in this country can someone like me become a success, provide for my own family, be free, be safe. I've been a mile from ISIS. I've literally met with Al-Qaeda in Sudan. And when I'm in these places around the world doing my documentaries, I know the only difference between me and these folks is this Constitution, our political traditions, the Bill of Rights. It is our responsibility as citizens. You showed the picture from my Twitter account. That's the fall of Troy. It's my favorite painting in the world. Aeneas has his father over his shoulders, wife by his side, and he's holding his little son's hand as they're fleeing Troy on their way to Rome, the found Rome, as we know. I love that painting because to me it sums up what it is my duty as a man. We should be concerned about the elderly and the immunocompromised. There is an elderly woman who works for a pregnancy center that I'm on the board of in the hospital with pneumonia right now. She has been told it's COVID-19, and that's all I know. But my sister during the break just texted me from a hospital that they were reporting in Chicago is overwhelmed, Cook County Hospital. She goes, brother, I'm walking around this hospital and the staff says it's really slow, but they're expecting this huge, people. They're digging mass graves. They have a red light, a strobe light over New York City. They are using this to take away our freedoms. So we should care about the elderly. Of course, we do. We should care about the immunocompromised. We do more than any country in the world we do. We're the only country in the world where the Department of Justice, Roger Severino, said any discrimination, any favoring the young and the healthy over the elderly, like in Italy and China, will be prosecuted. That is who we are as Americans. But at the same time, we must think of our posterity. We're already, in my neighborhood, there's lines for food. People are lining up outside the school 2 times a day for food. They're already running out of food. Can you imagine a day in America where we have food lines? We wait in lines for roller coasters and new iPhones. That's what we wait in line for. Now we're waiting in line for applesauce and tater tots. So our job right now is, I think, to do what we know, respond to what we know, not give an inch on our freedoms while being thoughtful to the vulnerable. And we're told that we should love and respect our medical professionals, which we do. I was with the man who raised me as he died of the flu, actually lung cancer, but at the end it was the flu that took him. We didn't tell people he died of the flu. We said he died of lung cancer, but it was at the end, flu came in and took him. And I fell in love with our medical community, and which normally they want to socialize and tell us it's horrible. It's always horrible. Our healthcare system's horrible. Watching how they cared for my father, the discipline and the professionalism, I have a new respect. But now we have the governor of New York saying, I have no respect for your property, for your hospital. We are going to come in and take what we want and send it where we want. Sue me. And we must protect our churches. We must protect our hospitals. And what is next? What is next is our homes. What is next is you have food and they don't. We're coming to get your food. And not trusting that the American people are generous, thoughtful, and kind and know best how to distribute the food that they have
Absolutely.
stored.
That's what Cuomo's commandeering is all about. And we told people 9 weeks ago this was coming. Now I've got articles in like the LA Times and Reuters saying soon you'll all have to wear masks year-round forever. And the Australian Prime Minister says 6 months at least, it's never going to end, forced inoculations. I mean, this is hellish.
And there's commercials now. I've seen them running. This is the new normal. I've got news for them. It is not the new normal. We're Americans. This is not the new normal. And that's where the distrust comes in. 1 week it's don't wear masks, it's irresponsible. Save the masks for those who need them. The next week is everyone should be wearing masks. It's always confusion. Tyranny comes in with confusing use of information, as you've been saying for almost 3 decades. The opaque use of language, Gnosticism, access to secret knowledge. That's what makes Q so dangerous. They tell you trust the plan. Who are you that I'm trusting? What plan? What's the plan? You've told me you lie to me. You say that you use lies for good. We know that you cannot do evil, that good will come of it. Speak honestly, simply, clearly. Say what you know. Speak it as simply and clearly as possible. We're not getting that from our news media. They're not communicating to us clearly and simply the information.
No, they're hyping up the fear as much as they can. And you just need to learn. When something's coming from known liars, you stop believing it. Now, why do you think people love it when, 5G executive says it lowers your immune system? Well, that's in mainstream news. But since it's a guy that's a whistleblower, but we don't see his face, everybody likes the thing that's speculative instead of the thing that's admitted. So there's something to do with this.
Yeah, well, the reason why I ignored it, when you're not in a crisis, Q is like Dungeons and Dragons. And I have a lot of friends who are in it, whatever, let them do their thing. Originally what bothered me the most about Q was its constant calumny and anonymous posters saying the most awful things about real human beings. And like you, I'm in the film industry. There are celebrities who are my friends, and then you hear people say the most awful things about them that aren't true. And people in my family or at my church will talk about these people like they know them and they have this, and I have to remind them, that's the sin of calumny. That's the sin of detraction. These are human beings.
That's right. If you're going to say something about somebody, you better have the proof.
But when you have anonymous sources through an anonymous site speaking calumny, detraction, and telling you, we lied to you for your own good. Look, if you're a Christian, you cannot lie that good will come of it. That's just very simple.
The creed of Satanism is do evil for good.
That's it. Alex, there's a principle I'd like to share with you. It's called victimism. Feigning concern. The Christian anthropologist from Stanford lived through World War II. His name was Rene Girard, and he said there's this principle called victimism. In the post-Christian society, you can't openly war against the weak. So you feign concern for the vulnerable to gain power, to gain influence, to gain wealth.
Oh, absolutely. And then they put them into a cosmology of victimology where your only value is that you're a failure. And that's what this is turning us into wimps like Chinese emperors that are in the Forbidden City. And then we're all walled off because we're a special interest group. We have to be enslaved and controlled and coddled for our own good.
And those of us who refuse to be slaves, they can war against us on behalf of the people they've turned into victims. That's the game. And scapegoating becomes the key to that. So now you pick a vulnerable minority group to blame for the disorder in society, and you war against them. So it's the anti-vaxxers. We don't vaccinate. I wasn't vaccinated until I went in the Army, 7 children. They're not vaccinated until they join the military. So you war against anti-vaxxers or people who believe in the Bill of Rights. You're selfish and you think you have a right to your hospital. You think you have a right to your home, and you don't care about the common good. So you're going to scapegoat people who believe in freedom, people who loved God and want to worship,
Oh, yeah, leftists, when they see conservatives, Christians, and nationals, they shake their heads and really believe we're the villains, even though it's our system that builds all this wealth. And they don't even make that simple equation complete. They're spiritually blind, and it seems the delusion is getting stronger for some while the awakening is getting greater for others. What would you call this time we're in right now?
I honestly think this is this is one of the most important moments, Alex Jones, and you and your audience were made for this time. Let's not be distracted with Gnostic garbage. You want to do research? Read the Bill of Rights, share the Bill of Rights. Read the Constitution, read the Gospel. Remind people everywhere all the time. We are created for only two things. Very simple to be a human being. Love God, love your neighbor. Be kind, be noble. Don't spread lies, calumny, deception. Don't share anything unless you know it to be true. These are very simple things. So this is our time. This is our moment. I think the camps are being divided into the two camps that there always been. And Dennis Prager had this new movie, No Safe Spaces, where he said, the sad truth is maybe most people don't want to be free. There are those of us who will only be free. It's not, we'll
but of course, we know the places that are the supposed safe spaces are the historically most dangerous places. They're called jail cells.
Yes, and the truth is, this constitutional republic of ours, for ethnic minorities, religious minorities, for women, for the sick, for the old, is the safest place that has ever existed in the world. So let's just preserve this constitutional republic, and let's just resist this tyranny. You know, if your mother, father, brother, sister, or child is dying, my father died of the flu fighting cancer. I was with him. I prayed the rosary with him every night his last 7 days. We took different shifts, and I took the 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift. And if he had COVID-19, I can promise you my father's last days, I would be with him. This letting our grandparents die alone for the good of this society.
Oh, yeah, this thing of, don't go see them. Lock up the nursing homes. You can't see them. The Nazis started in 33 euthanizing old people and said, they have viruses, don't come see them.
Yeah, no, they're telling us the loving thing to do is, like, I'm Catholic. The bishops aren't letting them get last rites or confession. That's unbelievable. So now my grandfather, my father, is going to die alone without a recourse to the sacraments that we as Catholics should all have a right to. No, the churches, the synagogues.
How is it not essential to get last rites? They banned Jews' last rites in Israel 3 days ago. The gay pride parades, they can happen. All this stuff.
Abortions can happen. Abortion, but you're not going to. And our priests, our pastors, they should disobey this.
Oh, this was all pre-planned. This was all. They're arresting pastors all over the U.S. That defy this. Walmart is essential. Target is essential. The liquor store is essential, but you don't go to church and you don't go see your dying father or mother. That's sick.
No, in my Costco, they have hundreds of people. We say, nose to okole, as we would say in Hawaii, every day, all day. But yet, if we go to church, that's not essential. Well, if you're godless, that's not essential. But it's not the government or yours job to tell me.
Oh, this is pure authoritarianism. It's 180 degrees opposite of what America is. Jason Jones, thank you so much for spending time with us. We really appreciate you.
I can't thank you enough. God bless you.
God bless.